Hello, everybody. It's Kate here from Positive Special Needs Parenting, and I wanted to do a quick video today about a recent post that I wrote about 5 life hacks for special needs parents. And to be honest, these life hacks or these sort of shortcuts and things that I do in my life will help every parent, so not just special needs parents. But I think given the unique stress and strain that we're under, the fact that we probably have more appointments than most parents, that we have a lot more responsibilities, that we have so many different parts of our life that we're trying to juggle at any point in time. I think that certainly makes it more important that we as special needs parents put in place ways to make our lives easier. And so my last post, which I put on last week, was all about things that you could do to make your life easier. And they're things that I've done along the way. And I just wanted to add a few little parts to that, because obviously since I've written the post, I've had some more thoughts on things. But I just thought we'll go through some of the ways that I try and make my life a bit easier, and hopefully they might help you too. But if you've got life hacks, if you've got some ideas or shortcuts or things that you do to make your life easier, share them in the comments, because it'd be great to get a feel for what we're all doing. I think it'd be awesome if we could share sort of how we're trying to make life a little bit easier for everybody, because I think that is going to be very worthwhile for all of us. So the first thing that I put down in the post, and one of the things that is most important for me anyway, is meal planning, because I know one of the things I was finding is when I was working particularly, and I just didn't have the brain capacity, and I still don't, to be honest, because I'm working in the day doing my writing. But just after a really tough day, when you're trying to deal with all the things with your kids, you're trying to deal with appointments, you're trying to manage all the issues you've got at play, the last thing you need is to then sit down and go, what are we having for dinner? And have to make yet another decision. So one of the things I know I've noticed is I have to make a lot of decisions in the day. Emails will come through, about funding. We're in the process of trying to use some funding up at the moment for the NDIS that ends at the end of the month. Can I use it? No, it doesn't seem I can. It's ridiculous. So just things like that, it's exhausting. So having one decision taken out of your hands at the end of the day can make a huge difference. So that's why I meal plan. So I meal plan for a fortnight. And what we've done in the past is we'll sit down as a family, maybe at the end of dinner one night, and actually get everyone to have input into what we'll put on the meal list. And so this is another way that we're trying to tackle some of the food aversion and some of the dietary sort of issues that we face, particularly with our son, who is very fixated on the things he wants to eat, and has some sensory issues around that as well. So putting together and getting their input into a meal plan helps you, because it gives you the decisions. You don't have to make a decision now. You will have everything you need for that fortnight sorted out. But what it does is it gets the input of the family, so it's not just your decision anymore. And the other thing that it does is it allows you, to incorporate what your kids want. So it might actually encourage them to try new things. So it's a way that you can work together to establish, a meal plan that will work for you all. So that's a really important part of what we do as a family. And as I said, having that decision taken out of my hands each day, knowing that I can look on the fridge and there's a list of the meals we're having for the fortnight, so I know what we're having tonight, helps me. It also helps the kids, because the kids can actually see, okay, what's for dinner, Mum? Or, they might actually have a look at the list on the fridge and go, oh, okay, we're having that for dinner. So having it down is actually acting as a visual as well for your kids. So it can actually help you visually sort of give that prompting to your kids. They know what's going on for dinner. They can see 2 nights ahead what's happening. And you can incorporate that into your calendar as well. You can sort of write down what you're going to have for each night. But meal planning obviously helps with the decision making, but it also helps with directing you what to buy in your shop, which is really important, because none of us really wants to spend more time than we need to. And it just keeps you on track. And that's the basis, for instance, of what I then do my fortnightly shop on. And before we move on to this, the other thing that I didn't add in the post that is a really good life hack is online shopping for your groceries. So here in Australia, we have Coles and Woolworths that offer online grocery shopping opportunities. For a lot of us, grocery shopping is just the worst place to take our kids. There is so much stimulation, there is so much noise, lights, you know, everything is going on at once. So, you know, if you haven't already tried it, maybe have a think about online shopping, because that's another life hack that will help. If you can take yourself and not have to take yourself out of the equation, and you don't actually have to go and, you know, take your kids to the shops, or you can save that 2 or 3 hours of your day sort of once a fortnight, do it. You know, do what you need to do to make life easier. So meal planning, online shopping, you can put it together, and that gets rid of one of the big issues, or at least makes it a bit easier to deal with one of the big issues of our lives as parents. The next life hack I talked about was organising paperwork. And I think most of you will know and accept and understand that if there's a lot of paperwork when it comes to special needs parenting. There is so many reports. You have funding requests. You will have assessments. You will have just information that is given to you on the different diagnoses your child might have. So it's really important to have a space for all that paperwork and to be able to find it easily. One of the worst things that can happen, this has happened to me multiple times, I should know this by now, is to have, you know, a request from a specialist for a prior diagnosis or for a particular piece of paperwork, and not being able to actually, you know, find it or produce it in amongst all the other pieces of paperwork that you have. So actually organising your paperwork and taking the time from the start to organise your paperwork in an organised and in a way that matches and suits you is a really, really important thing to get right from the start, and it will help you as you go through. As I've said before, this is our 14th year of special needs parenting. My son is 14 and he was diagnosed in June of the year he was born, so he was only about 11 weeks old. So we have 14 years worth of paperwork, and I actually have to go through. I was once also I was a relationship manager, but I was also a records manager. So I've actually got to go through and do with records management hat on and have a look and see what I can clear out and what I need to keep, etc. over that time. But the paperwork can be overwhelming, and it can really add a lot of issues into your day if you're asked for information by the school or by a specialist or a therapist. So make it easy on yourself from the start and have a plan for organising it. So you might want to organise it, you know, by child. You might have more than one child, like I do, with a diagnosis and the respective paperwork. You might want to organise it by diagnosis, so you may have several diagnoses for the same child. You may want to organise it in chronological order, so okay, from the earliest through to the most recent, or you might have another way you want to organise it. But have a think about it and think sort of 5 years ahead. I need this piece of paper. How am I going to find it? So try and think logically for yourself, but also think about logically for others as well. So if you end up sort of in hospital in the future, or something happens and someone else has to try and find this paperwork, you know, it's you know, important to obviously have it planned and sorted in a way that's going to help anyone else trying to find it as well. So that's just something else to keep in mind. Some of this tools that you can use to keep your paperwork together, or your ideas or your questions for appointments, which is another important aspect, is obviously to use, and I'm talking about paperwork physically, but also now I'm going to talk more about electronic. So it's important because a lot of it these days, you'll get emails from therapists, you'll get sort of sent links to check out, that sort of thing. So think about how you want to electronically store that information as well, or even consider scanning some of the paperwork so you don't actually have to, you know, necessarily keep it all physically anymore. But look into options like Dropbox, which is a really good system for saving information in the cloud. You've also got Google Drive, which a lot of people use, or, you know, Cloud for Apple. So whatever system you're using, you know, find something that will actually go from device to device. So if you're on your phone somewhere, you can access this stuff, as well as on your computer at home. You can also use other things, like I use my my email system, Gmail, and I have folders for things. So that's how I hold a lot of that stuff. You can also use Evernote, which is a great tool that you can have, and I have it on my system. I just don't always use it as well as I should, but you can actually save links and save websites and save, you know, download PDFs and stuff to the system, so you can open it up and look at it whenever you need to. And also Trello is another one. It's more for organising ideas, but this is a good one if you have questions, or if you are interested in finding more about a particular part of your child's conditional diagnosis, Trello is a good one for organising information. And you can actually attach documents to that as well. So have a think about how you want to put things together. From a paper point of view, I have filing cabinet, which is sort of down here, and I also have some folders up there which has all the information on it. So I suppose have a think about it from a physical and an electronic point of view. How are you going to organise your paperwork? How is it going to be easy to get to? If you're asked the question, you need to provide this diagnosis or this report, how would you find it? So that's the way to approach that one. Relatively similar to that, but slightly different, is to introduce routines. I think this is really important for us as parents. We talk about introducing routines a lot for our kids. So we might have routines for, a morning routine before school. We might have a routine after school and a bedtime routine. And for a lot of kids, particularly on the autism spectrum, routine is really important. It gives them a sense of calm. It gives them some order and structure, and they know what is expected. It takes some of the anxiety out of the situation. But we can use routines as well as parents. And I think it's important for us to have a look at how we run our lives and what we're doing, particularly if we're trying to fit in work, we're trying to fit in other events into our lives. How can we do it? And one way is to actually track what we do in a particular week. And then that way you might be able to see how you actually do things. If you tend to do your shopping, if it's better for you to do it in the morning straight after you drop the kids off to school, or if you find that making school lunches at night help you be more prepared and together with it in the morning, have a think about then building a routine based on those findings. So it's really have a look. So maybe note down in a diary how you do things in a week, or you probably know very well how you do things. And maybe look for opportunities. How can you sort of make it easier? How can you streamline what you do? How can you then build in sort of a routine for you as a parent? Because if you find the best way to do things, if you find that, doing your lunches at night works for you, if you find that, cleaning your house a little bit each day works for you instead of sort of making it a big thing, once a fortnight or whatever, those are the sorts of things that should make life easy for us and are easy hacks. So have a look at what you can do and, put together a routine for yourself. I used to have one on Google Calendar, so but I found I didn't follow it. I'm terrible when it comes to electronic things, and you'll find that as we go along. I love paper. I love visuals. I love seeing stuff easily. Electronic stuff doesn't give me that same, I suppose, impact, particularly when I want to go and cross off a to-do list or whatever. So I need to get better at that, but I had used and had a go at using Google Calendar, which is really good because you can put in 15-minute increments in your day what you're going to do. You can block stuff out. So if you've got that and then other appointments or things come up, you can make sure that you can book things at other times. But I think it does make sense to think about routine for us as much as for our kids, because and a lot of the time we are dictated by routine, and there's a lot of things that break the routine. You might have sudden calls from school. I've had that the last couple of days. You may have to sort of, fit in an appointment at short notice, that sort of thing. That's fine. But I think thinking about having a routine and thinking about how you can actually make the most of your time, acknowledging that our time is valuable. We don't have as much as we like. If we can somehow systemize what we do and work out a way, to create a routine out of sort of how we naturally sort of work, or identify ways that we can shortcut and make things better for ourselves, that's a life hack that will certainly help us down the track. So maybe consider doing that. You can use diaries, calendars. We'll get to that in a minute. But I think the first step is to have a look at your day and work out where you can actually, make things easy for yourself. Where can you create a routine, or where can you actually say, I might do this here to make life easier for you. So that's another hack for you there. The fourth thing, this is why I have to have notes. The fourth thing is to create a place for everything. If the biggest issue I have is that I'm at home most of the time, so I'm usually the one who has to clean up after everybody and one who's trying to keep on top of things and know where things are. And that's okay most of the time, but it is an issue if no one else is helping you do this, or if you don't have a place for everything. So if you don't already have sort of a command center in your hallway, or if you don't already sort of, have set places for the kids to put their bag and to unpack and to put things away, I definitely think about doing that, because it will make your life easier. My kids, we have a hallway. We've actually just changed it, and I'll have to show a picture later. We've got a smaller hallway box system now. So we used to have a big 4, like sort of had 16 cubes in it. We've actually condensed it now down to 8, and there's a little drawer, sort of fabric drawer that goes into each of them, so the kids can put in their school stuff. So particularly for the high school kids, they can have a look at their timetable and go, okay, I need this book and book today, and they can have it sitting there if they need it. So that works particularly for Matilda. She's found that system works for her. Gilbert doesn't use books as much. He relies on a computer, but it's handy on those days like yesterday when he went to the pool and he didn't actually have classes. So we could pull everything out, put it easily in the drawer, and we were fine. So I think putting some sort of order into your lives helps not just yourself sort of stay sane, but it helps develop sort of routines in your kids. So if you can sort of say to them, and we're slowly doing it with Gilbert, the girls do this now, they come home, they put their bags down on the bench, we go, okay, can you unpack your bag, unpack your lunchbox and your drink bottle, put it upstairs. If you've got anything you need to do for school, do that. But it gives them the opportunity, they have a place for their stuff. They can unpack it, put it down in their drawers, and then they can move on. And it means that if they're looking for something later, it's there. So definitely having a place for everything helps. And this goes beyond the front hallway or, your kitchen or your lounge room or whatever. This goes to, your kids' room. So we set up a folder system just with the paper organisers that sit on your desk for files. And so the kids could had one for every subject. So that's something they can do to keep on top of what they have and to make sure that their subject books sort of are put together and somewhere they can find them. So if they can take a little bit off my shoulders, it can take a little bit off your shoulders, being organised and having a place for everything really makes a lot of sense. You can get a lot of ideas for this on Pinterest, so many ideas for organisation centres, and they don't have to be expensive. You can probably utilise stuff you've got around the house. It's really the thing is in training your kids and in getting them to help you with this. That is just, again, another form of routine. You build it into the routine. But places we've gone in the past to get some good organisation bits and pieces, Kmart, I love Kmart. IKEA is awesome. Even Bunnings, we've gone to Bunnings. That's where we most recently got the new bench sort of cube system that we've got that the kids are using. So have a look around you, have a look at your house, how you can organise, but create a place for everything. It is a life hack that will help. It will save your sanity, and it will really, really help you save time and energy in having to run around and search for things every morning or every afternoon. So the final life hack that I wrote in the post is to write everything down. And this, I had to take time to do this because I used to have a phenomenal memory. I used to have a great memory. And look, my memory is good, but it's not as good as it used to be. And what I've learned over time is I might remember where appointments are. I might remember sort of all this stuff, but all it does, it crowds my head. My head is already full of all my worries and things for my kids, which I am trying to manage. It's full of all the things I have to do. It's full of all the things I have to remember. So even though I could remember, and I could definitely be able to remember how to, when this appointment is and what time it is and what I need to take, it just makes sense to clear your mind and to write things down. So that's the main reason why I write things down. I also have been known to go to an appointment a week early or to go to an appointment a day after it was supposed to happen. So it also is just very good just for organisational purposes. Now, I am a paper person. I love paper. So this is the diary that I use, and it's basically it's a week to a page, a week to 2 pages, and it really helps keep me sane and occupied and on track. So obviously I work in the week. I have 2 businesses. I have Positive Special Needs Parenting, and I also have my Double Scoop Consulting, which is my copywriting business. So it's really important from a business point of view to have this stuff down. But as a parent, I think it's really handy to write down and have a little diary and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. to write down those appointments, maybe to write down a to-do list so that you, an achievable one, so you can go, okay, I'm going to try and do this. Like I had it written down because I kept forgetting, opt out of my health record, which is tomorrow. So I finally did it today because I finally wrote it down. So writing down everything, having visual reminders, so having a calendar. We have a calendar on our wall in the kitchen so the kids can see what's coming up, and we can see what's going on. My husband and I can see our respective appointments as well. Having sort of using a diary, and obviously you can use electronic versions of those as well, which is really handy because for being on the go, I don't take this big diary everywhere because it's not practical. So, it's handy to have little notes and to have things in your phone. And so, make sure every phone has a native note-taking app, or you can get one from the respective Google or iTunes store. So make use of that. Make little notes. If that's how you want to do it that way. And then you can sort of, and the advantage of electronic sort of systems like that is they can, remind you. You can have a ding or whatever, a vibration, whatever you need, that will remind you of what you need to do. And as I said before, you can also use Google Calendar. So you can use electronic calendars if you want to keep updated that way, and everyone has their own preference. I just love paper and I love visually seeing stuff. And for my kids, it's really important for them to be able to see what's going on as well. But I think, as I said, writing everything down is really important, not just so you remember what's going on and you can keep track of what's happening, but most importantly, to keep the noise out of your head. So as much as we can reduce the internal noise in our brains by writing stuff and keeping it down and having it down there, that will definitely help. And I think that's probably the one thing that I've learned. Hello, because I am good at, I have a good memory and I am good at keeping on top of what's going on, but I don't have to. And if you don't have to, it's just another thing I've got to remember. It's another thing that I have to stress and worry about and go, oh, did I get that right? So writing things down is a life hack that works. Even if you have a great memory, think about doing it just for your own sanity. And also for the benefit of just having it recorded so other people knows what's going on, because sometimes we are out of commission. Sometimes we have to go to hospital. Sometimes we have to, we have to go away, and someone else has to do all this stuff for us. So having it written down and having it easy to find does make it a lot easier to keep going and to make sure that everyone's on top of what's going on. But yeah, so basically that's the life hacks I use. I do meal planning. So I plan my meals, so it's one less decision I have to make every day, and it means that I'm organised and I've got everything I need. And I get the kids involved so they can hopefully eventually eat vegetable, which would be nice. Actually, Matilda does, and Delilah does a bit, but Gilbert, no vegetables for him. It's organising your paperwork. We have tons of paperwork to deal with. Make it easy from the start and have a system in place to deal with it. Whether you deal with physical paper, or you deal with electronic paper, you scan it, whatever you want to do. There's a lot of apps out there, and I can, as I said, I've mentioned some of those earlier on. Introduce a routine for yourself. Make it easy for yourself. So if there's a way that you can actually, find shortcuts in your life, or find an easy way, maybe making, lunches at night before school will help you. Do what you can. Have a think about how you can make your life easier, because that is going to pay off big time in energy and in and your ability to cope with stuff as the days go on. Creating a space for everything and a place. So, create a spot for your kids' bags, create a spot for their school stuff, create a spot for their favourite toys, for their sensory items, whatever it may be. Make it easy on yourself so you're not the one, because I'm always the one who has to run around and try and find where these things are when they invariably get lost by my child when I wasn't there. So I've got no idea where it is. So it just makes sense to try and teach them and train them to find a space for their precious things, and to encourage them to use those spaces. And then you're going to be less stressed. So it really makes a big difference. And then that fifth life hack is to write things down. Even if you've got a good memory, take the noise out of your head, be kind to yourself, write things down, not just so you know, but so everyone else knows what's going on as well. And this is why I love calendars. We have a big calendar in the kitchen. information so everyone knows. The kids can see what appointments are coming up. My husband can see what's happening. And it allows me to not have to sort of stew and dwell on this stuff because I've taken it out of my head and put it on the calendar. So I think these are five ways that I've definitely found things and life easier over time. As I said, I've been doing this for 14 years, so it's been a while now. But I'd love to hear any suggestions you guys have for life hacks. What do you do to make your life easier? And you don't have to be a special needs parent. You can just be a parent. I think all of these are equally relevant. But I just think that if you're caring for special needs, there are some extra responsibilities and obligations and meetings, appointments, etc. that just, it just makes it that much more challenging sort of to manage. So feel free, tell me in the comments below what do you do to make life easier? And I'll share another link to the post so you can check that out for yourself. And if you've got any ideas or anything you'd like to add, please do. And if you've got any suggestions for future 5 things posts, I try and do them every Friday. I love having guest posts. So if you're someone who can add something, 5 things about, your thoughts on parenting, if you're a specialist, a teacher, anyone with sort of an information, you might be a grandparent, whatever the case may be, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to be able to share different experiences and share ideas to help everybody and to give a little bit more, just to improve our collective understanding of the different ways that we live and what's out there. So please let me know if you do. You can message me or put it in the comments. But thank you so much for joining, and I will see you guys again next time around. Bye-bye.